Chandler, congratulations. I've been holding it in to tell you.
Thank you, Sam. And you always believed I could do it. But for me, it was, yeah, I can do it. And that probably helped my success get there.
Yeah, it's just so great. You were number one in the app. You were up there with Micah and this other guy. His results haven't come out yet, but he was number two. There's this group of the elites at the top of 5 people, and it was amazing what you did. In Micah's podcast, I said, I think he's wondering how you're so relentless. Did you notice this person constantly on you?
I noticed when you mentioned it is the thing, because it was when you told me, hey, you're number 2 or number 1 on the leaderboard. You sent me an email out of blue. That wasn't really a goal for me. For me, it was just, I got to get this done today. And I just kept doing that every day. But then one day I was, hey, you're at the top of the leaderboard. And I was, wait, what?
Nice, very humble of you.
I do that. It appeals to my competitive side. And I'm glad that people are able to have that Bible of sorts.
I think as lawyers, right, it is a competitive thing. It's always one side versus the other. I'm tapping into that, I think, that competitive side to it to push you all further. And it's not, I forget the expression, I think it's called net sum. It's not either you or Micah pass. You both passed in a fantastic way.
That's also interaction you don't get with regular bar prep, because you, of course, can look at how people did well on the question with other bar prep courses, but you don't have a name. You don't have some people post their face to who you're actually working with on this bar prep journey.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Chandler. So what were some interests you had during law school before you started out on this?
In terms of law, I didn't really have too many interests. I could probably do this. And it wasn't till the end of law school that I became more interested in doing law. Because before I had done pretty much everything: property work, contract work, even some dental malpractice and torts. I went in thinking, oh, I want to do med malpractice, but it ended up not being that way. My interest just peaked at the end towards criminal law, and I haven't really thought about looking back.
That's really cool. Like, how far are you from a major city in Ohio?
I live out in the sticks, so the capital, Columbus, is an hour away. Any big city is 30 minutes away. So I have the whole pond to run around in. And that's how my dad operated when he was my age. He lived near the same property. He just got up into trouble in all the surrounding counties from there.
Okay.
That's just how it worked for me.
Nice. I guess I'm just asking, since you're going into criminal law, all the prosecutors in the area know you're around now. That's great.
I've been doing interviews, and I got another interview lined up on Monday, so I'm really hitting it.
Beautiful. Did you do your oath ceremony yet?
The ceremony is November 12th, which I think is a Tuesday.
Nice. Was there a specific thing that piqued your interest in criminal law?
It's just you get to do a lot more trials, and trials are fun. I guess I always had that interest because when I went to the Ohio State University, I thought I was going to be a cop. And then when I went to law school, obviously there's no way I'm doing criminal stuff. But eventually towards the end, I realized criminal's interesting. Someone's got to do it. And I hope one day that I get to do criminal environmental law. That's a goal, but we might not be there yet. I got to build some rep for myself first.
I'm sure you're going to do great things now that the bar exam's out of the way.
The plan.
How many attempts did it take you to pass?
This was my third attempt.
Nice.
So third time's the charm.
And you went back to...
Yeah, it was just back to back.
And what were your scores, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, so my first time out the gate, I got 262, 8 points away from 270. And that thing's sick as a dog. I had a sinus infection, and I had a place where you could only get lukewarm water, so I could never clear out my sinuses. And I only got 3 hours of sleep before I took that one. It was a mess. And then, yeah, I just took them back to back. And the second one, I ended up with a 256, so I actually lost points.
This is what I wanted to emphasize, that you went up 30 points. You made jump.
Yep, I went to 286.
And this was your highest MBE ever?
Yeah, it was my highest MBE. Before, I always did average 132, 134. And this time I did 153, so we really crushed it this time.
And I really think it's because you got so high in the multiple choice levels. I looked recently, yesterday, and I saw that you were almost on the verge of completing it. You didn't quite complete it, but you were really close. And for the current group that's taking February 25, I just want to put it out there that I've made it a lot harder. So I've added even more questions, and it's going to be even harder to get where Chandler was at. But if you do, you can expect a really good score.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain mastery to it to where I figure out what was this question asking me, what are my options? And okay, can I get down to the best two at the very least and go with that? Advice I was giving out online yesterday: don't spend all your time trying to figure them out. Eventually, you gotta move on. You got a finite amount of time.
Yes. And then hopefully you're never asked that, but your exposure to it. Yeah, that's a great point you're bringing. Hopefully, yeah, there's this thing where you could analyze every single question as you go along, but what happens is it slows you down from seeing every single question that's released, right, by the NCB. And so you really have to figure out what's going to work best for you to yield the highest score. And there's a chance that it may not even be asked, but there's another chance that if you see that question, your exposure and just knowing the answer choice may get you the right answer anyways.
Yeah, for me, that was the properties clause, because on the constitutional law sets, there are a lot of property clause questions about U.S. can do whatever they want on their property.
Yeah.
And on the actual exam, there were quite a few property clause questions, whether it was poaching or just the U.S. trying to do what they want on their land. So they do come up, even when you don't think they will. And just that exposure, I think, helped me. It gave me more time because I knew what was going on and I knew what the answer is going to be. And it saved it for some of the harder questions.
I think, too, it hit close to home for you because you want to do environmental criminal in the future.
Yeah,
so
that too.
It really resonated with you. I love these questions. So that's great. For those who skim by, we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the properties clause of the U.S. Constitution.
And out of these attempts in graduating law school, what was your lowest point during bar prep? And did you ever consider just giving up on the dream?
It creates two cuts in times. I would say there were a couple low points. The first attempt, my grandfather had passed away about a month ago. I had always told him, I'm going to be a lawyer, this is what I'm going to do. And one day he was just gone and I lost him. And that was hard for me. Eventually I got back up and started doing it again, but I think it didn't help things, to say the least. The lowest point where I thought I'd give up would be when I failed the second time, because I thought I did everything right. I got a new bar prep program. I had the support of my dad to get me tutoring. It was $1,000 and we didn't do it. We failed. And I felt like I was wasting all this money, wasting my family's time trying to achieve this. I recognize I'm very lucky to have a support network where I could even get a tutor, but it was still a real low point because the first time it's okay, I let myself down. The second time I let my family down.
Yeah, definitely. That really compounds everything. And then the fact that you got all this extra additional support monetarily, and it was a score where you went backwards too, right?
No, I went backwards. I knew I failed almost immediately. I walked outside the testing area after break and I called my dad. Okay, I just burnt through your money. I could not get it this time.
Sorry, but I guess now you could say, Dad, I did it this time. Not to dwell too much on that hard time. How did you feel this time then?
Oh, I walked out and I passed it this time. I definitely
Nice.
feel I crushed it. First time, I could go either way. Second time, I definitely failed. And third time, I walked out of there, called my dad and said, yeah, we got it this time.
Nice.
I absolutely crushed it this time. There's no doubt in my mind.
Was it the MBEs that gave you that feeling, or was it the essays, or everything?
I think it was a combination of everything, but yes, I entered the essays and I knew what was going on, except maybe a few questions. And then the MB, obviously, I felt, oh, I'm really gaming it here. I really understanding it and fit pieces together. The MPT was whatever. I did a lot better on one than I thought I did, and I did a lot worse on the other one. But it was a situation where, oh yeah, I definitely passed it this time because I know what's going on. And
Right.
I just had that confidence.
A lot of people say they feel bad, but I let them know after the exam.
Yeah.
And I say that could be a good thing, because if you had no idea what was going on and you think you did well, there might be a problem too. But it seems like you saw the traps on the MPT, that one of them, and so
Yeah.
and you have fared anyway, so that's
Yeah.
great.
No, everything went up. Did my writing grow exponentially? No, that's not true, but it did grow, and growth is all that matters, especially if you're retaking.
Yes.
But I definitely think if you're taking it for the first time, you should feel bad, because I don't think there's any other way to simulate it other than actually sitting down and doing it. And you're definitely going to feel bad. And that's just.
How did you find out about, because the way you came into the app, you just paid the fee through Apple in-app purchase.
Yeah.
And I just noticed, I don't think you have an iPhone. You have an iPad or something?
Yeah, I never had an iPhone. Actually, no, that's a lie. I had an iPhone a long time ago when I was a sophomore in high school, but I always used Android since then. But I heard about your app on Reddit, and so I knew my grandmother had an iPad for my aunt that she never used. confused. So I was, okay, Grandma, can I borrow your iPad? And she said, okay. And so I started doing the app on the iPad.
Yeah. And then you just gave it back to her at the end of the.
We still have to get her logged back in, but yeah, she just lives next door, so it's not.
I was just curious about that because I tried to iMessage you before the call just to confirm this meeting, and it was iPhone people say you're a green bubble, which means you're not iPhone user. And Chandler's not an iPhone user, and a lot of people are asking me now about iPads because they want a bigger screen and stuff, and I guess that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and definitely for me, having the iPad was neat because I could sit on an exercise bike and hold it up and go through the questions, and I'm getting physical activity as well as mental activity at the same time.
Yes, and you really went through the questions. I'm laughing because you're saying I could go through the. Yeah, you really went through questions for sure. What strategies or resources this time were most helpful to you in passing?
It's hard to say I had a really good strategy. I will say one thing is eventually I realized that there were companion right answers and there's companion wrong answers on some of these questions. And what I mean by that is that on the exam, there are two questions that are testing the same rule. One of them's a no question. Yes, this applies, or no, this applies. And then there's another set where it's testing a different rule and it's a yes and a no. So eventually I realized which set of companions are obviously wrong. I'd be left with the companions that are more right. And that eventually going through the exam, realizing that led me to a lot more correct answers. That's just how I thought about it when I was actually taking the exam. And then being able to, okay, I'm going to close my eyes and think about this question and try and visualize where it would be on the outline. As far as resources, I think Devising has good outlines. I wouldn't recommend as far as multiple choice, I'd probably recommend your program, and you do have a bank, so that's also pretty good. But as far as outlines, I think JD has a good set of outlines to use.
That was the other source that you used.
Yeah, that was the other source. If I needed to access black letter law, that was the program I did the second time and didn't pan out. But I did use those resources for black letter law, just understanding it. But I do think doing multiple choice sets every day was probably a better studying strategy that I had, which is why I blitzed through your program so quick, because I was doing it every day.
And the presentation, just level by level, I think you just got it right away because we didn't really talk. You just started doing it. You got which was amazing to me, that whole, because usually I have to do a lot of convincing, less now these days, but I have to convince and explain how the system works before people commit, but you just went all in. So I appreciate that, Chandler.
And that's the thing. It was something that was there, easily accessible, and I could just keep powering through. It's very simple to do as far as studying goes, and it's effective.
And just a video game, right? How was waiting for results? We could talk about the first time, the second time, and this time. For me, waiting on you for Ohio was crazy. I was constantly looking for Ohio to drop because I was so interested in how you.
And that's the thing. We get a set date, but usually we're the last out of the bunch, which I don't understand. I think someone online made the point is in Ohio, we had 1,000 applicants. Are they grading 10 applicants per day to get to the October period? Yeah, especially when New York comes out before us. So it's one of those grand mysteries. So I think at least some states don't get a date, so at least we have a hard date, but it doesn't make the wait easier. First time the wait was easier because I was working and trying to learn how to be a city prosecutor at the same time because I thought I was going to be the replacement when I passed. Obviously, I didn't pass the first time, so I had to let that place go. Second time was a lot harder, even though I wasn't in Ohio. I was visiting my mom in Texas, and when I got the results, I wasn't even at my own home. I was at my mom's house, so it was just sad, depressing. And then this third time, even though I walked out and knew I passed, there was an aspect, oh my God, what am I going to do? Pass. Oh my God, it's coming up quicker. And I couldn't find any work to do in the meantime, so that was even worse. I didn't have any distractions to work to keep me off it and at least make a little money at the same time. That's how the waiting period worked. But eventually, I don't think I told you how I found out I passed, did I?
No, please share.
So the test results in Ohio dropped on 25th, 8 a.m. When I woke up, I looked at my alarm clock. It was p.m. Oh my God, the test results are out. I'm scared to look. And I was slowly building myself up to go look. So eventually I was, okay, I'm going to play on my phone and then I'm going to go look at the results. And I look at my phone and I get 10 texts congratulating me on passing. I didn't even look at the page. Everyone else checked before me.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Very good thing because it's pretty tedious even entering the last digit or whatever of your number.
For me, you hit Control F on a list and you type in your name and either get no result or you get the result. And this time I was able to find my name on there.
Congratulations. That's great. When your message came through, I was getting ready to record with Micah and it was super early because of the time difference.
Yeah.
I screenshotted it 6 something in the morning here. I was just bringing my daughter to school. So it was nice to get that from you that you passed.
I spent the whole day emailing people back, and I should that email San back. I should probably email him and let him know.
Thank you so much, Chandler. Negativity from family or loved ones at all?
Nope. And that's another, oh, I'm fortunate type of thing. I always had a supportive family, even extended family. I've always had involvement supporting me and wishing me the best. And not saying it's not a big deal you didn't pass this time. Even lawyers among the family were pretty supportive of me. So
That's super nice.
So again, it's one of those, because I can understand a scenario where people might be negative, but I feel sometimes you'll have the strong enough support me where it probably won't matter as much. And all you can do is keep trekking through.
Yes, and you are very lucky, and it's super nice that you come from a very nice, supportive family. Question, do you have any advice for those preparing for the next bar exam, whether they're a retaker or first timer?
I guess my advice is obviously lock down the MBEs, because from what I understand, February you have a lot less. Losing points on that is going to hurt you more because there's less people writing. So the writing's going to be super competitive. If you're not confident on your writing, you can always rely on the MBEs because you're always going to get 1 point out of that. And that's where I passed, is I got a 153 on these. If you can do that, you're pretty much, I don't think it matters how much you do on writing.
Let's round out 150.
Oh yeah, 0.5.
Yes, I'm just teasing.
No.
So focus on the MBEs.
Don't completely neglect your writing, but realize it's a crapshoot. San and I had a discussion where I truly didn't think they were going to test constitutional law. There's absolutely no way they're going to test it this time. Not only did they test constitutional law, it's something they never tested before, the contracts clause. So they will try and jump you with unfamiliar stuff. And that was the same way with family law, but I knew family law pretty well, but I didn't think it would show up on the exam. You and I were both confident that torts would show up on the exam, and it did. We were waiting for that question with the kid, but it wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But maybe it'll show up in February.
Maybe. And regardless, we went through so many essays. You had this rhythm to tackle it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Definitely get your hands on the banks, because there are going to be ones that are familiar. For the 2 I didn't recognize, the rest of the 4 I did recognize and was able to do decent on, and one I did really well on because I had seen it before, and it was a property question I had seen before, and it was, I think it was the 20, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was a 2014 question that it was similar to, with how properties transferred. But again, it's definitely do that stuff, definitely get your timing and rhythm down. So when you go on the test day, you should be able to flip through the book and understand, okay, I can do well on these essay questions. I can do middling on these essay questions. I am completely hosed on these essay questions, so I'm going to save them for last. Because at that point, you're taking power, it's silly, but you're taking power away from the exam. You're putting power into yourself to be able to say, I know what's going on here. This is the order I'm going to do them, and I can do well.
Nice.
And the MPT is the same way. Definitely do it, definitely learn it. So on testing day, you're not completely lost. It's still points on the table, but all the answers are there. Do your best on it and just learn how to organize it, because it's more about pleasing the grader in that aspect. And there are some tricky stuff to it. The MPT I did really well on. There's a little trick at the end if you didn't read closely. It was something, the case they gave you did not necessarily apply to the facts because it was something you didn't know. There was a fact that you didn't have that would be applicable to the case that they gave you. So I need to find out whether or not, I think he's an employee or not. I need more information, because if it's true or not, this changes things. So there will be hidden nuggets where they try to trip you up if you're not reading closely.
That's great that you caught that and it paid off. So you have interviews, and what are some positions that you're excited about?
Pretty much most prosecutors start off in juvie, so that's what I'm looking at as doing juvenile stuff. It just depends on what's the pay going to be, how close is it be. But I think it's excited because I haven't done juvie before, and it's a learning experience. And I think kids end up in a bad way sometimes. You Yes, there's got to be consequences, but I'll try to do the best I can to be fair, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Chandler, for doing this. Thanks for seeing the narrow path.
Yeah. Did you see the Dune TV show that's going to come out?
I've seen it, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. But yeah, I guess context, San and I would always talk about Dune before we jumped into our tutoring session.
I'm definitely gonna try and squeeze that clip in here about the narrow path, because what happened was at the end, getting near to the bar exam, people will hit me up in a frantic kind of way, and they would say, I need help. We have 2-3 weeks left to the bar. And then it reminded me of the quote that Paul Atreides said. He said, I see enemies all around, but there is a narrow way through. And that's what I would be thinking when these examinees would reach out to me last minute, is there is a narrow path, but it's very narrow now.
You can see. The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
And I told that to you, Chandler.
Yeah.
And we would joke about that a little bit. So thank you for trusting me.
And to make another Dune reference, this whole process, he learns how to sandwalk. This whole process is learning how to move and take a test in a kind of a weird way. But there is a way to do it. You can learn it. Once you've figured out how to sandwalk, you can find the narrow path. You get that much closer.
I guess I'm Chani? No,
Yeah.
I'm joking around.
Yeah, San is your Chani, your Paul. You gotta figure out how to sandwalk and find the narrow path.
I'll be the other guy, the hype man. What was his name?
Stilgar.
Yeah, I'll be Stilgar. That's better than being Shawnee. I'll be your Stilgar, hyping you up and saying your, what was the name they used? He said Azul, but he also said Lisa now guy. That's you, Chandler.
Don't try to impress anyone. You're brave, we all know that. Be simple, be direct. Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy.
Hey, I'm serious. Nothing fancy, or you will shame my teaching.
I won't shame you. I understand.
Shai Hulu decides today if you become Fremen, or if you die.
Thank you
Yeah.
for doing it, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep, it's just with hard work and dedication, you too can find the narrow path.
I think it'll help people, and I think it helps the current group more than anything, because they're, what is he having me do all this stuff? All these essays a day and the MB levels. I'm just seeing the same thing over and over again, but it is part of the path.
Yeah, like I said, eventually you realize, I know what this question is testing me on, and that's what you're learning is rules, the black letter law, by doing questions.
Yes. And then all the conveyance questions,
Yeah.
they helped you on the property essay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's something that's not touched up on law school where, yes, you can sue on someone else's deed, even though you don't have that same deed. It's a very weird rule that doesn't seem obvious to you.
A great honor to work with you. And the way you were just working so hard.
I always think about Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, Embrace the Suck. I'm going to do this every day and it will have a measurement of accomplishment for me.
Yes.
So I just started grinding.
And you really did.
Yeah, it's never too late to start getting on the scoreboard.
Yes.
When I was at level 7, I wonder who's right around me and right behind me, and should I work a little harder on it? That's when I started looking really hard at the scoreboard. All right, we're doing 500 questions a day. Who's where?
Yeah.
Can I one up them?
Yes. And I mean, paid off. And so I really think this key will break the bar exam open. I really think if you just use this, do it, Chandler did, just work really hard, get through all the levels, and trust, and don't hesitate, and practice essays, check with the essay outline, although it's nice to have some guidance and to joke around about Dune and stuff. If you could just do this, then you'll pass. And then it will get to a point where why even administer the bar exam? I've already added, for this upcoming bar cycle, I've added MEE specific questions. I did multiple choice questions based on secure transactions or based on family law. And it's in that same leveled out way with repetition. So you can even get better. And then I took that one suggestion you had. You remember how you said I want to suss out the answer choices on the essay drills? I did it.
That's the thing. I would get it wrong and then move on. I need to understand a little more why this is wrong and why this is right.
I changed that for you.
That's great. We got through it. So
We got through it.
eventually you'll be doing it long enough where you might not be the name, but you'll be the name in smaller circles where it's, hey, the Sandy guy is really on, and I recommend it. If a law student asked me, I'd say go with him. I'm sure it'll pan out.
Thanks so much.
My dad was also a big subscriber because we should have really gone with this guy the first time. How'd you even find him? Really, he's helping. Yeah. I just saw a small Reddit post, your name come up. I've tried the 2 big names, and it won't hurt me to try it this one. And I think he understands it.
Is that where you got to call grandma and get me her iPad? Do you mind if we put your email up and people can ask you questions?
My email is chandlermorgansandusky@gmail.com. You can reach me at pretty much any time at the moment, so I'm not opposed to emails. And yeah, if you need anything, just let me know. I would even be down for Zoom conversations, because having a face, having a voice is a lot more helpful than I think, and except more helpful than an email giving you advice.
Definitely. That's super nice of you, Chandler. As I say on Reddit, RIP inbox. Have you ever seen that? I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I've never been in that situation, even when I did give advice.
Me neither, but I don't know. I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that you're willing to get on a face-to-face with them to help them.
No, we're all in this together. That's how, I wouldn't say my law school class was not competitive in some aspects, but for the most part, we all just helped each other and passed stuff along and stuff. So that's the mentality I have. Even though on the bar exam, you're technically in a group and some of you are going to pass, some of you are not. You're all in it together. You're all suffering through this experience together.
Yes.
So I can help you, ease you a little bit. That'd be great.
That's very nice of you, Chandler. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye. Thanks so much.
Yeah.